February 24th, 12:14 p.m. District Court. Courtroom number 9. Welcome back to Ace Attorney. And for once, they actually had a black screen to start off with. First time in a while. The court will now reconvene for the trial of Miss Lana Scott. Emma didn't come back. Allow me to call the next witness to the stand. Officer in charge of guarding the evidence room on the day of the crime. Witness, please state your full name and occupation. Me, partner? Well, I'm just a man, same as you, honoring the trails of civilization. Occasionally helping the elderly cross intersections when needed. Yes, we get it. Oh, I know. You're a patrolman. As for my name, if you listen hard enough, you can hear the howling wind calling it out. To be exact, it's Jake Marshall, Your Honor. Howling wind? Never heard Edward described that way before. Now, Mr. Marshall, let me ask you something. You were in charge of guarding the evidence room on the day the crime took place. Is this correct? According to the papers, partner. What do you mean? Desperado soul is boundless as the desert sands. No paper can sum it up. Maybe it's best we get on with this quickly. Please share with us your testimony of the day of the crime. In plain old English. My job was to keep a wary eye on that bone orchard. He said I was supposed to make rounds 3 times a day. That ain't my style. Besides, the room's protected by 2 security systems anyway. If I remember right, I was at a street-side saloon at the time I went down. I'm just an innocent traveling man, so if you're out of ammo, it's time I hit the trail. I can't say I particularly care for your attitude. I can't say I care for your beer. You don't see me complaining. Wait a minute. What do you mean by 2 security systems? I mean the security cameras and the ID card reader. I reckon even a cowpoke like you knows about those. Yes, well, what about the fingerprint-activated locks on the evidence lockers? Fingerprint-activated locks? What kind of newfangled doohickeys are those? He's not being very helpful. He's not that good with machines, or with following orders. Everyone's got their weaknesses now, don't they, Mr. Prosecutor? This one seems like trouble. Okay, Mr. Wright, he's all yours. Alright, you know what to do. Press everything. How exactly did you keep an eye on the evidence room? I just made sure nothing moved in the security camera monitor. Our room's so still. Even time dies in there. I was just a caretaker who interred the recording. You interred them? Videos of nothing aren't that useful. When the time would come, I'd erase the tape. If nothing unusual are recorded, tapes will be erased every 6 hours. Each time I'd erase a tape, it felt like I was erasing a part of my life. Guy has a flair for the dramatic, but it isn't going to do him any good. So in actuality, don't physically enter the evidence room. But you made your rounds on the day of the crime, right? Ain't you heard a word I said, partner? I told you that I ain't my style. I'm afraid I don't understand. No desperado, I know lets rules get in the way. For no desperado I know lets rules get in the way, sorry. The desperados I know joined the police force. So, Officer Marshall, on the day of the crime. Just between you and me, I didn't set foot in the evidence room that day. There was a rubber glove stuck in the victim's locker. Do you know anything about that? Sorry, partner. Can't say I do. Haven't been in that crypt of weeks. How does that guy avoid being fired? And I already know that's wrong because you got his fingerprints in there. You used to be a detective, so you've used the evidence room in the past, correct? Of course. Back in the day, my locker was a gold mine of evidence. And yet, you didn't know about the fingerprint locking mechanism. Sorry, partner, I ain't good with machines. I couldn't even tell you how a bike works. That's quite, incredible. The sensors on the locker handles cannot be seen. It's well known that some detectives are unaware of their presence. Now that he mentions it, Detective Gumshoe said something like that too. At any rate, it doesn't seem that this is relevant to the crime. Can you tell us what you were doing when the crime took place? I remember, right? I was at a street-side saloon the time it went down. What were you doing in a place like that? I was eating spaghetti. Not even an angel's steak lunches can beat that parlor's Mongoli sepia pasta. You mean to tell us you abandoned your police duties to eat some noodles? Not all desperados eat tacos, partner. That's not what I meant. I hope this is at least taught you a lesson. That's strange. This is usually where Edward says, "Did you not want a raise this year?" So this is a traveling man, so out of ammo, it's time I hit the trail. Out of ammo, Officer Marshall. That's right, partner. Or as you can call it, evidence. You plan to pin me to this crime that you better draw. Otherwise, you're just wasting my time. The steel horse is waiting to carry me back west into the sunset. One thing seems clear. Despite being responsible for guarding the evidence room, the witness doesn't appear to have seen anything. Texans don't take orders from anyone. Everyone knows that. Apparently your superiors don't. Okay, I have a trump card up my sleeve, so I best keep my cool. Before I use it though, I'm better up the ante. So, I feel like I should get him with the fingerprints. They have the fingerprints as a... Aha! Boom! Officer Marshall, doesn't it strike you as odd? That is, you being called in to testify like this? After all, you weren't in the security room at the time of the crime. Yet you dragged me down here. Explain yourself, partner. It's quite simple. You left a very large trail behind at the scene. Or to be exact, a handprint. Listen real good, partner. Like I said, I'm the caretaker of that crypt. I pay my respects, that is, make my rounds about once a month. It's only natural my fingerprints will be in there. I only wish it were, officer. But you see, your fingerprints were covered in blood. Witness, what's the meaning of this? The bloodstained fingerprints were at the crime scene. The blood was wiped away, however. A luminol test clearly revealed this. Well, Officer Marshall? Seems to me there ain't a person in this room with a head on his shoulders. I take it you have an explanation then, Officer Marshall? About the bloodstained fingerprints? Very well, you may begin your testimony about your fingerprints found at the scene of the crime. Like I said, it's only natural for my fingerprints to be in that evidence record. One of them just happened to be at the same place as a bloodstained handprint. The murderer touched the locker where my fingerprint was by chance. The bloodstain and the fingerprint are completely unrelated. Or didn't you know the murderer was wearing gloves? See, I had nothing to do with it. Hold on, wait. Now little lose room for doubt. Life wouldn't be fun without doubt, partner. The defense may now cross-examine the witness. This guy's hiding something, I can feel it. Now's my chance to prove it. Yeah, there's something that he said that caught my eye. Did you know the murderer was wearing gloves? How do you know that? I may be a loner, but I still do my job. I keep up on the reports. There was a bloodstain at the scene, thought to be left by the murderer. That's right. Found on Detective Gumshoe's locker. However, no fingerprints were detected on that handprint. But yeah, I think we tried that too. So that would mean the murderer wearing gloves happened to place their hand on top of Officer Marshall's fingerprint. That's the only logical conclusion. Can't let him squirm out of this one. I've got to find something decisive to tie Officer Marshall to this crime. I forgot the murderer was wearing gloves. I thought that was a big thing. Dude. That's rough. Oh. Yes, you press them on everything. That's because you, how did you put it, pay your respects once a month? Yeah, that's right. That and one more thing. That locker happens to be mine. What? What do you mean? I mean what I said. That's the locker I used when I was a detective. The locker I still use. All that's in there now, though. All that's in there now, though, is a heap of broken dreams. I never said which locker it was, did I? I see. It's strange my prints weren't all over that locker. Apparently, his fingerprint data was never removed from that locker's programming. He must have been using the fingerprint lock all this time without ever knowing it. You starting to get the picture, partner? The picture? The seal of blood. The desert's just food for the buzzards. There's only one reality, and that's this. Security. As long as my trail isn't in there, you can't say otherwise. This isn't getting us anywhere, Mr. Wright. Please consider carefully where you're going with this cross-examination. Yes, Your Honor. Now then, continue your testimony, Officer Marshall. Too bad it wasn't me in that video, right, partner? What do you mean by that? You want to tie me to this crime, isn't that right, partner? If so, that video was the only direct evidence you have. That video is next to useless. It's full of blind spots. Blind spots? Places you can't see. The camera's panning back and forth. The floor isn't shown. Someone was familiar with the camera's position. They could leave the room without being caught on tape. We don't have time for your speculations, Mr. Wright. Well, Mr. Wright, can you show us evidence in this video that indicates Officer Marshall was present? Please do so now. I mean, I'm gonna just assume that there's evidence. Typically when they ask, there is. I have no idea what it is. Way to point out your mistake, Officer Marshall. Tread carefully, Mr. Wright, or you might end up being the one making the mistake. Yes.
Now then, let's have another look at the video. Show us this incriminating evidence to the witness, Officer Jake Marshall.
Oh shit, I didn't mean to hit. Oh crap. I didn't mean to hit that. Don't forgive him too, Officer Marshall. He's not a bad man, just a bit delusioned. Of course, I'm not the one to gun down unarmed boys. Oh great, now Edwards is defending me, because that means I missed the mark.
Very well, let's get back to the cross-examination.
Oh crap. Alright, get back to it. I hit the wrong button. B is pause. The audio keeps playing even if it's paused. And nothing there. There's the glove falling out. Okay. I don't see anything. And there's blood there, but that doesn't have anything to do with him. It may have been from his face's hand. Meekins is down. Oh shit! So his locker's different. Bringing our attention back to the security camera is a mistake I'm afraid you'll not soon forget, Officer Marshall. The days are short in Texas, and so are our tempers. Do you sum up what you have to say in 8 words or less? Very well. You can clearly be seen in this video. Exactly, it worked. Not bad, partner. The key lies in a certain locker shown in the video. I still don't think I ever told him which locker it was. Maybe he did, maybe we didn't, I just forgot. The locker
with the white cloth sticking out. That was the witnesses, I believe.
Now then, let's rewind the video a bit.
Oh, the white cloth. It's gone. What's the meaning of this, Officer Marshall?
When the crime took place, the white cloth wasn't there. Then it suddenly appeared. There's only one explanation. Officer Marshall, you were in the evidence room at the time of the crime. What's more, you opened up your locker when the camera was turned away.
Order, order.
That's the only... Hold your horses. Sorry, partner, but you got the wrong man. So what if my locker was open? That doesn't mean I'm the one who opened it. the murderer needed to hide something, so he opened the locker and stuck it in. Not my fault, he happened to choose mine. Why is everyone staring at me like I'm a wanted man? Guy isn't just playing dumb. He really doesn't know. I hate to rain on your parade, but you're the only person who can open that particular locker. Oh yeah? I call your bluff. You say open that locker, now prove it. I assume we need the fingerprints, right? Or... this is the thing that actually says only the assigned detective's prints can unlock it. Not the fingerprints. So I'm gonna say this one. The fingerprint sensor? We talked about this earlier today. The lockers can only be opened by the detectives they belong to. What kind of crazy talk is this? Well, Detective Gumshoe did mention something about this.
In any case, the locks aren't that obvious. There are even some people on the force that don't know about the fingerprint locks.
So, Sheriff, what do you have to say in 8 words or less? I only got one word for you, partner. No!
Order, order, order. Witness, explain yourself.
This is a joke. It's the worst I've ever heard. I assure you, this is no joke, Officer Marshall. Now then, please tell us what you were doing in the evidence room at the time of the crime.
Olay, please answer the question.
What is he now, a bullfighter? That's alright, Officer Marshall. I believe we can figure out the rest from here.
We can.
Have a look at these floor plans. There's no place for someone to hide in the evidence room. Yet Officer Meekins didn't see Officer Marshall.
That's so, then where was the witness?
Seems Mr. Wright has an answer. Or, the same as Mr. Wright has an answer. That's right, the only possible conclusion.
Well then, let's hear it. Where was Officer Marshall at the time of the crime?
Wait, so... who's the victim in this? And I assume killer would be... because this is the locker. Okay, depending on what time this is, I don't know which one of these is supposed to be Meekins, which one of these is Marshall. Because he's clearly the person. I would think Marshall would be considered the killer, right? But based on where they're standing, this seems like it'd be Marshall. But he's not the victim. And I guess... yeah, oh, okay, yeah, duh, because they're, as of right now, technically, Goodman's the victim, and Goodman's who Marshall is, and Meekins is technically the killer, quote-unquote. So, V. Officer Marshall was standing right here.
There? But that's where the victim, Detective Goodman, was.
Correct, unless the man wasn't Detective Goodman. I believe the victim in this video is Officer Marshall. It was you dressed up like Detective Goodman. But that's preposterous. Officer Meekins witnessed the detective at the crime scene. Once he saw the man's face, he'd know for sure. I point out, though, that Officer Meekins did not know Detective Goodman. He also testified about the man's reaction when confronted. When I entered the evidence room, I asked him to show his card, sir. Yes, and how did Detective Goodman respond? He suddenly pulled a knife on me. Something about the officer's story puzzled me. If the man had his ID card, why didn't he just show it?
Yes, he would have needed it to enter the evidence room, so he must have been carrying it.
The answer is simple. He couldn't show it. As you can see, Detective Goodman's picture is on his ID card.
Oh, I get it.
If he showed that, his cover would have been blown. Officer Meekins would have realized the man wasn't Detective Goodman. You have anything to say to this, Officer Marshall? You got quite an imagination, partner. You got a term for that. It's called circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence? He's still denying it. You're gonna have to do better than that to break a detective. Let's see if hard evidence proving I dressed up as the victim.
I can't say I particularly care for your uncooperative disposition.
Can't say I care for your beard, but you don't see me complaining.
Well, Mr. Wright, do you have any evidence proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that Officer Marshall dressed up as the victim?
Well, oh shit, who am I kidding? Something. I can see the fear in your eyes, partner. Seems you're the one who couldn't take the desert heat. This can't be happening. So obvious he's the one. What can I do? Looks like your lack of experience has finally been exposed. I'll pass on to you what someone told me when I was just starting out. You run into a wall with no places to go. Return to the basics.
The basics?
I mean, that would be what Mia used to tell me. Phoenix, try thinking outside the box. Shouldn't look for proof that the Officer Marshall was in disguise. But rather, I should look for evidence that came about because he was in disguise. Why do you think this locker was opened in the first place?
What do you mean?
There's no reason for Officer Marshall to open his locker at the time of the crime. Yet he did, despite the chance it might be discovered later, as it had been. Which means he didn't originally plan to open his locker.
According to the defense's argument, Officer Jake Marshall dressed up as Detective Goodman at the time of the crime. Then, after the crime was committed, he opened his own locker for some unknown reason.
The fact that a white cloth was sticking out of the locker seems to indicate that. He opened it in order to put the cloth inside.
So, just what exactly is this piece of cloth?
Perhaps the video is the key to all of our unanswered questions. I don't have any evidence, so this video is my only shot.
Very well. Let's take yet another look at the security tape. After committing the crime, the witness opened the locker to put away the white cloth. Please show us why the witness had to open his locker.
I have no idea. 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 And we never see him again after that. Could he have used it to clean this up? It's the only thing I can see that he could possibly use it for. For some reason, you disguised yourself as Detective Goodman and entered the evidence room, though I don't know to what end yet. Yeah. However, something unexpected happened. Officer Meekins barged in on you. You asked to show your ID, you pulled a knife on him. However, Officer Meekins panicked, and the white coat you were wearing was soiled with blood.
A bloody white coat.
You didn't just walk out like that. You hid the coat in your locker. Hey, that makes sense. I don't know how you would clean it up. Yeah, because you could never see him anymore. Not bad, pardon me. It just is the coat. I don't know how he expected to be able to clean it up under the cloth. That didn't really work because it was still stained. Anyway.
Now then, Officer Marshall. Are you ready to tell us the truth?
Looks like I underestimated y'all. Hope you're happy now, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, you were only half as persistent then as you are today. You all wouldn't have to be here now, now would we? Officer Marshall, tell the court what you did. All of it. Alright. Gives the time has come. And yeah, I think we all knew this was him connecting back to the SL9 incident. It's the whole reason he was in the evidence room in the first place. If they're going to be doing transferals on the evidence of the SL9 incident, but he still hasn't forgotten. Obviously. He's in there for that evidence. It was part of some revenge plan. Yeah, I guess. I don't really know where else I was going with that. I had to do it that day. I couldn't just stand by and let it die. The thing with Lana still stands. Like, what's going on there? But they're still gonna say, you've proved that he was there, but you haven't proven that Lana didn't kill Goodman. Stole the detective's ID and dressed like him. I planned to take out the evidence. I wasn't expecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out. I managed to escape. I knew which areas wouldn't be caught on the camera. There wasn't any murder in the evidence room at 515.
So the supposed victim was really you.
There's one thing I still don't understand. Traces of a large quantity of blood were found on the floor of the evidence room. No one was murdered, then how could that be? Officer Meekins managed to cut his own hand. I guess that he's the donor. There's way too much blood for such a small donation. I had to do it that day, just couldn't stand by and let it die. When you say it, you mean, do you even have to ask, partner? The SL9 incident. 2 years have passed since that case was closed. It was going to completely end with the transfer that day. Not if I had anything to do with it about it. Oh my goodness, I can't speak. That incident's not over. But what did you hope to accomplish by sneaking into the evidence room? When a case is closed, only that case's lead detective can look through the evidence. I wanted to have a look at it myself one more time. No matter what the cost. I don't care what anyone says, partner. That case is mine. I'm prepared for a creek, or some creeks. I have to adjust my seating position because I'm starting to hurt my back. Officer Marshall wasn't in charge of that investigation. Why does he care so much about it? That day was my last chance. That's why Why did you disguise yourself as Detective Goodman? If I didn't make it look like Goodman was carrying out the evidence transferable, I'd be arrested for stealing evidence, which wouldn't get me anywhere. So you did it to fool the security camera.
And the detective's ID card.
Stole that the morning of the incident. That really was why Goodman started filling out that lost item report. I returned his ID card, left it on the floor in the prosecutor's office parking lot. The ID card I found was left there by Officer Marshall. Yeah, I figured as much. So essentially, you managed to succeed despite your lack of foresight. What do you mean, partner? I mean, the fingerprint activated lock, of course. But how will you disguise yourself? You can't change your fingerprints. Under normal circumstances, you wouldn't have been able to open that locker yourself. Because a rubber glove just happened, but he could because a rubber glove just happened to be stuck in the door. That means Detective Goodman must have opened the locker before Officer Marshall. I wasn't expecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out. He pulled a knife on Officer Meekins and tried to drag him off. Just say I was a little surprised. I only planned on being in the evidence room for no more than 5 minutes. I didn't think anyone would actually come in during that time.
Officer Meekins certainly is a 1 in a million type of person. Making a detective for an intruder and demanding to be shown his ID.
I have to think a little about his rise this year. When did Edgeworth get so much influence? Anyway, he threw himself at me and I ended up cutting him slightly. Sorry it had to turn out that way. Me knocking him out and everything. By the way, what happened to your knife? Oh, you mean this one? I don't know what to say.
So you knocked Officer Meekins out and...
So you did your research beforehand. Those who go to a desert unprepared don't live long, partner. I didn't think it would make a difference though. Security tape was erased every 6 hours. If all had gone as planned, no footage would have been left. Well, you bloodied your coat in your struggle with Officer Meekins. If someone was in the security room when I came out, the jig would have been up. They opened my locker and stashed it in there. What was Officer Meekins doing during that time? What else? He was sleeping like a baby.
So what you're saying is, on that day...
Any murder in the evidence room at 5:15. The blood found at the scene certainly indicates a crime took place. What, are you blind? A victim shown on the tape is me. I'm not dead yet, partner. So you stole the evidence from the locker. Actually, no, I didn't. Why not? When I opened the locker, the evidence was already gone.
What? Mr. Edgeworth, where is that evidence?
It's still missing, Your Honor. Detective Goodman's locker was already empty. Someone else stole the evidence. Officer Marshall, may I ask you one thing? Fire away, partner. It's a free country. Just remember, I'm also free to decide whether or not to answer. Why did you do this? Stealing a detective's ID, injuring a police officer? This is no small offense. Moreover, you're an officer yourself, which will have serious consequences. It can't just be forgiven with a simple cut in salary. Not that salary cuts are ever a valid solution. Excuse me. Like I said, this isn't your case. This one is mine. I'll do anything it takes to get an answer I'm satisfied with.
The witness has an unusual amount of zeal. Let's hear more.
Can't just forget the SL9 incident. You know why? But that case was solved 2 years ago, wasn't it?
That's the reason the evidence was stored in the evidence room.
Joe Dark was convicted for his crimes. One thing I can say for sure is he deserved his sentence.
I remember the Joe Dark case. It involved serial murders, didn't it?
I don't intend to complain about how it turned out. There's something that still bothers me. Something went down at that trial. Something no one will talk about.
What happened?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to find out. Why is he so concerned with that incident? Maybe I should present him with that with what I think his real reason is. I had a feeling they'd wind up here sooner or later. Everyone involved here is related in some way to that case. Better take another look at the files. So, I have to. So this? Officer Marshall, I think I understand. I think I know why you care so much about the SL9 incident. Sounds like you've been sipping too much cactus juice, partner. I have the SL9 incident file here. The name Marshall is mentioned here. And a list of murder victims. Neil Marshall. Are you related to this man? Neil Marshall. Yeah, I'm sure you've heard that name. 2 years ago, he received the same lousy prosecutor award you got.
What? Prosecutor?
Must be talking about the King of Prosecutors award. Now I remember. Prosecutor Neil Marshall. He handled the SL9 case before I did.
That's right.
That's right. He was killed. The case fell into your hands.
But what's his relation to you?
He was my brother. He was investigating the murders of Damon Gant, the then deputy chief of police. A group of detectives I was a part of worked under them. We were desperate to prosecute the killer. Joe Dark. My brother fought Dark and was killed. That was the first time Dark left behind any evidence. That was all we needed. He was arraigned and incarcerated. The case was finally closed, at least according to the public records.
What do you mean?
My brother couldn't have been killed by Joe Dark. I knew my brother was better than anyone. I knew my brother better than anyone. No one could have beaten him in a fight. That's it. That's your reason for your insane actions. There's more to my brother's death than what the records say. No matter how much you try to hide it, you can't fool me. That just flew back onto his head.
Well, at least one thing's for certain. Now we know what happened at the police department on the day of the crime.
That was the last day the SL9 case could be reopened. Not satisfied with this resolution, Officer Marshall planned to steal the evidence. Disguising himself as Detective Goodman, he entered the evidence room. Sir Meekins confronted him, so he rendered him unconscious and fled. Thus, this mystery has finally been cleared up. No murder took place at the police department that day. Things that happen by chance never cease to amaze. At exactly the same time as the murder at the prosecutor's office, this fake murder was going on at the police department. Cheers, it's gotta be more than just that.
So if no one was murdered at the police department on the day of the crime, that means the murder in the prosecutor's office parking lot was a real one.
Which in turn means only one person could have committed the crime. Chief Prosecutor Lana Sky. But wait, a verdict wasn't reached in yesterday's trial. Which is why we examined the incident at the police department today. But only one reason the defendant was not convicted yesterday. There yet remained the mystery of the simultaneous murder at the police department. It seems to me this boy's got the draw on you, partner. All the mysteries at the police department have been resolved. No doubt about it. A sole murder took place at the prosecutor's office. The only suspect is Lana Skye. And the testimony of one Miss Angel Starr is completely incontestable. If you have a response, make it a single word or less. I'd just say objection, but okay. I'll rest my case.
Seems this trial has reached its conclusion. There's no room for doubt.
Well done, Mr. Wright. Thanks to you, I didn't need to waste my time. It's proving the alleged murder at the police department. No doubt what I proved today is true. The apparent murder on the security camera's tape really was fake. I didn't realize. I would end up proving Lana guilty.
No, the time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant.
Hold it! Hey, Emma's back. Your Honor, wait. Emma, the defense has an objection, a scientific objection. Right? What do you mean, right?
Mr. Wright, are you this girl's guardian?
Your Honor? Oh, in a sense. Please, Your Honor, all I'm asking for is a minute of your time. Please hear me out. Mr. Edgeworth, please. I don't want to live in a loose ends. You want a minute? I'll give you 3. I was kind of in shock. I mean, finding out the SL9 incident referred to the Joe Dark killings. Now that she mentions it, the names of both Sky sisters were in that file. That's when I figured it out. I mean, what Officer Marshall was trying to do that day. I knew his fingerprint had nothing to do with the crime. That left only one thing. The other handprint. It made the traces of blood found on Detective Gumshoe's locker.
But no fingerprints are found on it, right?
No, but I figured if I examined it scientifically, I'd be sure to find a clue. So I ran over there and looked at it again. So did you find something? No. Huh? Sorry, I guess I'm not much of a scientific investigator after all. Is that all? Please don't be mad. I'm just a high school student. I'm just an attorney. But Mr. Wright, those traces of blood are the only clue we have. We can't find something wrong with them. Please, Mr. Wright, you're a professional. If anyone can save Lana, it's you.
Me? Oh boy. Time's up. Now then, Mr. Wright.
What I'm wondering is how was that bladed handprint used with gloves, but then he would immediately open the locker.
With regard to the incident at the police department.
Actually, I need to check the video again, see if that bloodied handprint appears in that one locker in that time or not.
With regard to the incident at the police department. Does any reasonable doubt remain?
It appears the defense is troubled by the other blood mark. Looking at the floor plans, a handprint was discovered around here. Is there a problem with this? Mr. Wright, I'm sorry I can't be of more use. But still, if you can't find anything wrong with that blood mark, Lana will be...
Please answer my question, Mr. Wright. We don't have all day.
Does that have something to do with the fact that that would be in the path of the camera? Yes, Your Honor. Ever I'm needed to concentrate just now. What could be wrong with that handprint on Detective Gumshoe's locker? Could there be something I'm missing? I'm just gonna assume I'm supposed to object. This handprint left at the crime scene clearly shows a contradiction. The only thing that seems to be clear is your grasping, Mr. Wright.
You've been staring pretty intently at those floor plans. Tell me, is there a problem with them?
Yes, this is strange. Take a good look at these floor plans.
Something is missing.
Missing? You mean something that hasn't been drawn on there? Yes, something that, when drawn, will completely change the meaning of the blood mark.
Let us pray the defense isn't simply trying to buy time. Very well, Mr. Wright.
With all this evidence here, there's gotta be something I can use.
The question is, which item can prove something is missing in the floor plans?
Well, shit. How did I skip so far ahead? Well, this thing was in there, I guess. Could it have been blocking the handprint, maybe? Let's go with that. What about that police supply wound? The Blue Badger, mascot of the police force. Defender of truth, guardian of proof. Explain yourself, Mr. Wright. Please look at the floor plans of the crime scene. The Blue Badger is not here. So watch what happens when you put him in. This is where he was dancing at the time of the crime. Well,
what?
That's right. So long as the Blue Badger is dancing here, it would be impossible to place a handprint at the spot on the locker. What?
That means, just what exactly does that mean?
It means it can't be done.
What are you saying? Blood traces are undeniably found on that locker.
Don't look at me, I didn't put it there. Mr. Wright, think it through scientifically. I assume it was put there afterwards? Emma. That afternoon, Mr. Meekins was the one who brought the Blue Badger to the evidence room, right? If he put it down, it would be impossible to leave a handprint on that locker. That must mean this blood mark was left there before the Blue Badger was brought in.
Just one moment. I will not allow such a far-fetched balderdash in my courtroom.
It may sound far-fetched, Your Honor, but it's the only possible explanation. On February 21st, the police department's evidence room. Blood was spilled not once, but twice. But how? One time was captured on tape taken by the security camera. Officer Meekins cut his hand, from which a trivial amount of blood fell. The problem is, the other time. Someone bled prior to the struggle shown on this tape. It had to have been. It had to have been Detective Goodman when he was really murdered. That's ridiculous. I refuse to accept your absurd claim. The murder portrayed in the security tape has been proven to be a fake. However, it does not explain the blood mark found on the locker. Say then, assuming this murder you purport really happened, when did it take place? I demand you show the evidence that proves when it occurred. When did the first incident take place?
To summarize, the defense claims that Prior to Officer Meekins being cut by Marshall, who was posing as Detective Goodman, another incident took place in that evidence room.
That's right, the blood mark on the locker proves this.
Very well, then tell us. When did this first incident occur? As Mr. Edgeworth said, proof must be presented.
Proof that shows what people when the murder took place. Only one piece of evidence that can show that.
Now then, will the defense please present its evidence? What shows when the first crime took place?
I assume it's that report, right? This thing? So, Edgeworth committed the crime. If the crime took place inside the evidence room, then the killer would have had to enter it. Oh, and in order to do so, an ID card would have been required.
An ID card? Oh, ID card record.
Officer Meekins brought the blue badge of the panel into the evidence room at, let's see here, 4:50 p.m. If the crime took place before that time, then it would be 4:40 p.m.
Huh? Or 4:40 p.m. Miles Edgeworth, just what have you done?
Never would have figured you'd have the nerve, boy. Drop the act witness. It doesn't take a lot of thought to figure out it couldn't have been me. Nope, I ain't getting it.
I'm afraid I don't understand either.
It's clear from the luminol test the blood was there. However, when the second crime took place, both Officer Meekins and Officer Marshall failed to notice the blood. That means the blood from the first crime was wiped away by the real murderer. I would have had just 10 minutes to murder the victim, carry his body away, and clean up the blood. Unfortunately, that's physically impossible.
That would mean the crime must have taken place before Mr. Edgeworth entered the evidence room.
So it's the 777 person then. Let's look at the chart again. There's only one other card number remaining. 7777777.
Talk about a lucky number. But wait, that doesn't make sense. How could Detective Goodman have entered the evidence room?
Since there's no record of his card being used beforehand, he must have entered along with the real murderer. That's the only plausible explanation. He went in with 7777777.
Miles Edgeworth, please look into this ASAP.
Find out whose ID number is 7777777. That's 17 too many, Your Honor. Oh, I guess I'm supposed to say it 8 times for that one. Fortunately, I'm able to look up the owner of that ID card. At least at present. What? Explain yourself, son. The number 7777777 belongs to someone with the rank of Captain or higher. Someone who is so-called executive officer. Or executive, rather. You don't have the authority to inquire into such a person's identity. But that's ridiculous. Just now, I'm not finished talking, Mr. Wright. There's one situation with which we could be granted such authority.
An official charge filed against an executive is accepted.
An official charge? You're all alike, aren't you? Your cover-ups and your forgeries. That's how the prosecutor's office operates. I take pride in my work, Officer Marshall. Would appreciate it if you would keep your slander to yourself. Slander, is it? Okay. Let me ask a question. Yes.
No, not to you.
The herds, I keep doing it British for some reason. The herds are independent sitting over there. You're only the executive. Lana? Don't be stupid. She's been charged with murder. Of course we've looked up her ID number. It's not 7777777. Don't play me for a fool, partner. That's not what I want to ask. All I want to know is one thing about that incident.
Yes or no incident?
Estimate this, Chief Prosecutor. That trial 2 years ago, you really only used legitimate evidence, or did you? Do you need the witness to repeat his question, Chief Prosecutor? I heard him fine, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, I was in charge of the prosecution for that trial. At the time, occasionally we felt the powerlessness of the law. At least I did. Lana. I became a prosecutor in order to suppress crime with the law. But before I realized it, we were the ones getting suppressed by the law.
Defendant, what are you saying?
Ask you again, Chief Prosecutor. During that trial 2 years ago, did you really present all the evidence in court? Did you look me, an investigator in that crime, in the eye and say that you did?
Chief Prosecutor, you didn't.
I don't have to, Officer Marshall. Why won't you answer him? Drastic crimes require drastic measures. That's just the way it is. Some things will never change. We did what we had to in order for him to get the verdict he deserved. But Lana, even if it involved forging evidence. See, that's what I'm talking about. No. No.
Order!
Those remarks caused such a stir. The chaos in the courtroom could not be quelled. We'd have to wait until the following day. To be continued. I missed a tiny piece of the last line there a minute. But that's going to be all for this episode. So thank you everybody for watching. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.